very fact, Mr. Agarwal, the very fact that the Law Society of Kenya, which initiated this entire court case, they have argued, that the agreement with the Adani's company constitutes a constitutional sham. Now, calling a deal a constitutional sham, and if you think from the perspective of the Kenyan government or Kenya as a nation, what are they trying to say? That it's a constitutional sham. What does it really mean? What is the Law Society trying to tell the people by saying this?
No. First of all, there was no competitive bidding. So they're asking who else bid. There was an American company who had not even heard about the deal, but they were willing to bid. So if there is no competitive...
I did read it somewhere in one of the reports that the energy minister of Kenya last month had said that there was a competitive bidding process which the Adani Power had won. That is what he said.
Nobody came forward. You see, this is one of the things that the minister and the Law Society have to prove before the court.
Okay.
See, if tomorrow, if there is another aspect of it, if a bidder knows that there is going to be, he has to pay 10%, 20% upfront, and if the laws of his country prohibit from paying a bribe, which all the American and the developed, they are signatories to Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, you can't pay a bribe and get a contract in Kenya. Here we don't follow it. So it is a green pass for green bucks and kickbacks, both of them. So what happens is that these people are very well aware. So then is there an effect? Over here also everything is through competitive bidding.
Right.
There is nothing that he has not got through competitive bidding. But then everything is rigged also, na? How you rig it? There they say, ki, look, is there a effective competitive bidding?
I was reading...
discovered that what the minister is saying is totally wrong, and there were American companies who were willing to bid, but when they realized that this is a kickback-based listing, they didn't bid. Why should they waste their time and money?
Right. No, but Mr. Agarwal, I was reading a tweet of CPIM, and CPIM Speak is the Twitter handle, which says, and I'm going to read it exactly, that Modi's Achhe Din for Adani model exported to Kenya. A court has stayed Adani Group's bid to run an airport in Kenya. Workers have gone on strike against the Adani takeover, and former Kenyan PM Raila Odinga now says that Narendra Modi introduced him to the Adani Group. So now this is regarding the airport project, over which there's a lot of anger, and I saw the CPIM Twitter handle saying this. So can this deal now also put Prime Minister Modi into trouble? Because if the former PM of Kenya is saying that Adani was introduced by Prime Minister Modi, now what would one really say?
But how can it put the Prime Minister into a problem? He is the sovereign of a sovereign state. And for all intents and purposes, he is the law, and he considers himself the law, not only terrestrial but extraterrestrial. So how can it be that anything can be done on him? I mean, it doesn't happen that you can, as a head of state, he can be in trouble at all. And that is why everything is done with impunity. No, what you have to understand is, what is a power purchase agreement and why this protest is there? See, a power purchase agreement is entered into by the government with a private party. Though the government purchases the power, it goes ahead and it sells the power to the consumer. And the money and the kickback, the cost of the electricity, the profit on the electricity, plus the kickback that is paid to the government officials, that is recovered from the consumer. Because it is recovered bit by bit, by making the electricity more expensive by 50 paisa, the consumer who is not in a position to protest, it is not a commodity that you can purchase from the market. You have to purchase that electricity. It is an essential commodity with a monopoly. So you don't have a choice. And you have to pay what the government asks. And they collect it, and these people keep on collecting the extra revenue for 30 years to come. So a government which is in power for only 5 years enters into an agreement with a private person for a period of 30 years and allows the private person to exploit the consumer for the next 30 years, for which it is willing to pay a very small fraction as kickback to the decision maker. This is the model. And it is a very simple model which anybody, if it is simplified, can understand. What is the model of business of Adani?
Right.
What they do further after that, no, let me finish.
Right.
What they do further after that, because they increase and over invoice the price of the coal or the capital equipment, the power equipment, or the maintenance charges, this money they keep abroad. They bring it through different channels by money laundering, and they show it as an investment in their own company, in the name of these shell companies, this thing, and increase their stake from 75% to 92%. Rest of it, the life insurance company and other bakras buy. So there is no floating stock, and then they increase their price. So you see, this is a complete circuit of how this corruption is going on and how they have become the wealthiest person or the third wealthiest person in the world.
What you are explaining, sir, and this is exactly what the Law Society has claimed. And they have said that this deal lacks transparency and it fails to uphold the essential constitutional principles. Now, what kind of difference do you really see when these things come out in India and the way our systems respond, our courts, our institutions, whether it is SEBI or any other institution, and how Kenya's Law Society has responded to it? Why can't we have check dams like Kenya Law Society, who are so vibrant, who are so robust, and they've detected this discrepancy in the deal?
You see, what is happening is this: the contract is between the politician and the private person, and the payment is made by the citizens, by the consumer. But he has no say in that contract. He doesn't know what contract has been entered. Now, how is it possible that somebody mortgages my interest, contracts on my behalf without even letting me know? So that is where transparency comes in. Now, every consumer may not have the wherewithal to vet that power purchase agreement, but they are certainly knowledgeable and good sanitarians who can vet those projects. And so the logical thing should be for any government to place that contract in the public domain, which these people again did not do, to which this law society is protesting and the court is upholding. You are exploiting me, and then you are not even letting me know what contract that you have entered. And so the basic thing that is happening there, which is not happening here, is that the contract has to be placed in the public domain. Then the people can find out. Suppose they have said that coal will cost so much. They know the international price of coal as of now. They will challenge that. So suppose they say power equipment will cost this much. All this is, see, today in the world of internet, all this is not something which cannot be found out. Then they will say, no, this can be produced with, and plus there are other industrialists in Africa itself, in and around, who are setting up big infrastructure project at a lesser cost in Africa. So just because you are going to Kenya, it doesn't mean that Kenyans will pay a higher. So there is a comparative cost parity also that they can determine. Here you don't want to determine. You don't want any agency to look into it. You don't want the consumer to look into it. And that is why every contract can be given to Adani at whatever rate. You tailor-made the contract for them. You change the rules for them. I mean, look what they did in Bangladesh. They went and exploited them royally for whatever reasons. And when you see the entire deal, you know that this is a deal which is based on commission. Coal is being imported from Australia. Plant is being set up in Jharkhand, which has got abundance of coal, and then the electricity is exported to Bangladesh. Now, and when the new government, and when you compare it with the existing rates, these rates are way beyond what they are paying. When the new government comes, in spite of a foreign exchange crunch or whatever, they choose to abrogate or they choose not to pay for what Adani had been producing. Now they are stuck with this investment. What does the government do? It first of all changes the policy. It says first that the power plant which was meant only for export, for which lot of concessions were given, and the Jharkhand government was arm twisted, environmental clearance, pollution in India, electricity over there. So they had already changed the rules for 100% export project. Now they say no. They can also sell power in India. When they can sell power in India, Rajasthan government comes to the rescue and they enter into a PPA instead of the Bangladesh government. So now the production can go on, and government of Rajasthan is substituted for Bangladesh. So you see, all this thing can happen over here. This is a paradise for the corrupt people in infrastructure. I mean, you can't imagine when I say it is a paradise. It is a paradise, but you can't export this model because people over there, they are not accustomed to this type of corruption. They are not accustomed to keeping quiet. They are not accustomed to non-transparent deals. And that is why the Law Society has said that this is all shrouded in secrecy. Bring it out in the open. Which court will say don't, except our courts? Our courts, I mean, if Adani, all the whatever transgressions they have made in law, which are blatant, have been overlooked by SEBI, by our enforcement authorities, and by the courts. All three of them, and of course the government. So this is a very strong indictment of the way our institution functions and way the institutions in Kenya function. I mean, what they have said is just the right thing. And that is why when you're talking about this competitive bidding does not mean a rigged competitive bidding. It means a genuine competitive bidding, and the entire structure of capitalism is based on competition, genuine competition. And anybody who plays foul with it is promoting monopoly and crony capitalism and corruption. That is what is happening.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.